Hey guys, welcome to Hughes History. We're going to hit you up with the War Powers Resolution of 1973. Separation of powers, baby. Ding, ding, ding. We have the executive branch in this corner and the legislative branch in this corner, and they're going to go after each other right now. So I don't care if you're a kid in school studying for an exam, if you're a lifelong learner, or you're the cray-cray on the internet. We got it going on right now, so giddy up for the learning. Let's go get her done. The War Power Resolution strikes a new balance between the President and Congress when it comes to sending troops abroad. Quite simply, passed in 1973 as a joint resolution in response to the secret bombings by the Nixon administration in Cambodia expanding the Vietnam War. Congress is basically going to put their foot on the brake and say, we want some power back in how U.S. military forces are being used. We think the President has gone too far. It's become an imperial presidency, so we're going to restrike that balance. And what this resolution does, and Nixon vetoed it. Presidents do not like this because it straddles them down. But that veto was overridden. And basically it says that the president can only send troops abroad for three reasons. There needs to be a declaration of war from Congress, or Congress has to give statutory approval, or there needs to be a national emergency where U.S. interests are being threatened and the president has to act quickly. And then if they do that, they have 48 hours to notify Congress, and then they have 60 days to play in the sandbox. And if they don't get authorization after 60 days, they have 30 days to bring those troops back home. Now, of course, this had been brewing for quite a while. The last time the U.S. Congress declared war was against Romania in 1942 in World War II, but of course, after that, and we could talk about U.S. imperialism where it happened numerous times, the president did get U.S. forces into a lot of hot water around the world. The Korean conflict, which was a UN action but certainly felt like a U.S. war, did not seek congressional approval. Vietnam, we started getting involved with military advisors in the mid-1950s, and even though we had the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution in 1964, the president was playing in that sandbox for quite a long time without going to Congress, without getting approval. So Cambodia became that tipping point where Congress said enough is enough, we're going to take our power back. So let's look at the Constitution. Where does Congress get the constitutional right to be doing such a stuff? Where's it going to get it from? Let's find out. Of course, not everybody thinks that the War Powers Resolution is constitutional. Where does the power come from in the Constitution? Well, it comes from Article 1, Section 8, which is known as the Elastic Clause. Most people associate the Elastic Clause with Congress expanding their congressional powers, with health insurance or with the Sherman Antitrust Act, or those sorts of things. But basically it says that Congress shall pass all laws which are necessary and proper for executing the Constitution. All of the powers in the Constitution, not just their own powers, but also defining, in a sense, how executive powers are going to be executed, i.e. the president's ability as commander-in-chief to use armed forces. So they're using the Elastic Clause to get that power. The other side of that coin is that if the Founding Fathers wanted Congress to have more power, they would have given them more power. They have appropriation power. If they don't like how the armed forces are being used, they don't have to fund them to do those things. That's the other side of this argument. So you can stand on either side of that argument, but those are the constitutional arguments. So let's take a look at a couple episodes where maybe we're brushing up against the War Powers Resolution and not following the rules. Since its passage in 1973, the War Powers Resolution has been invoked numerous times. In 1982 and 1983, it was used to put a timetable on how long Ronald Reagan could keep the Marines in Beirut, Lebanon, after we were attacked there. It was used to pass a resolution to authorize the Persian Gulf War, and there were issues of whether or not George Bush Sr. could keep a no-fly zone following the Persian Gulf War without seeking further approval. In 1993, the resolution was used to put a timetable on how long President Clinton could keep forces in Somalia, and there were more issues with Clinton involving Haiti and Serbia and Bosnia, and certainly in 1999 with the bombing of Kosovo. Clinton kept bombing after the 60 days was up without getting approval, and he claimed that because Congress had approved the funding for that operation, that there was implicit approval through the resolution, although many scholars disagree with that. It was used, of course, after 9/11 in 2002 to authorize the forces to go to Iraq, but recently there has been many any issues brought up with the Libya campaign. Even though it was a NATO campaign, it was run by the United States. And after that 60 days was up, everybody expected Obama to go to Congress to get the approval through the War Powers Resolution, and he never did it. He made the argument that after that 60 days, we had transferred power to NATO command. Therefore, he did not need that approval. The House rebuked him. So it's still a contentious issue, and it's still being framed out. And there's still no answer of what if. What if the president doesn't get approval? I mean, is there then have to be an impeachment process? What is that next step? So that's probably it for the War Powers Resolution. We certainly hope that you understand it a little bit. If you don't remember everything, remember that 48 hours to notify Congress, then they have 60 days to seek some sort of congressional approval, and then they have 30 days without that to start withdrawing, and that should be it for you. If you haven't checked out Hughes history, you can go to www.hiphughes.com. We have a video arsenal with 400 videos. It's a little bit crazy, but there you go, guys. I always say it, where attention goes, energy flows, and we'll see you next time you want to grow your brain.